Buckle in. We've got Ready, Set, Engage, episode 2 for 2025. I figured today, I don't know if people have been watching the news. I assume you've seen some of it. Um, I figured today we would talk about Facebook and fact checkers and sort sort of the problems with it. So for those who don't know, uh, this is probably the only time I'll ever defend Zuckerberg, but apparently he was the Facebook founder, convicted pedophile Mark Zuckerberg. He died, and he died of coronavirus with syphilis and etc. Like this meme is awesome. It's effing awesome. Like it cracks me up. And like here's the cool thing about free speech, right? Like posting something like this is totally within people's wheelhouse. It's totally within their rights. In fact, in like medieval times, the court jester was the one who could speak the truth to the king. Like he was the like humor was an avenue to sort of breach these topics. And so, like, I think this meme is hilarious. Um, and what it spawns from, and again, this is where like checking your news source matters. Um, where to go? It should be this one, but uh, there's a funnier one. No, that's not it. I don't know where it's at. Anyway, if Facebook's getting rid of their fact check program like that. That's the net of it. And some people might be thinking, oh my goodness, that means people can say whatever they want, and God forbid they say things I disagree with, which is a lot of what the articles opposed to it are. In fact, there was a Reuters article. I don't think I saved it because I was just like, this is garbage. Of people saying how upset they are because now basically views against their own can be posted, and like one of the fact checking teams was like CO2 climate agenda or something like that. If you can't figure out what their perspective is, but just based off of their name, and then I don't know what to tell you. But it sort of boils down to this, right? I guess for episode 2, we'll talk about fact checking. We'll look at who fact checks. Um, we'll talk about hate speech and arbiters just as it applies to that. I might have a little page in here about the DEI programs at Facebook. They're one of the latest sort of very large companies to end their DEI programs. That was announced today. And I'll sort of give some thoughts on that. And then that might be it. Fact checking, right? So they're going to get rid of fact checkers. They're going to go to community notes. Community notes. If you don't use X or Twitter, it looks very much like a fact check. It'll fact check. It'll show up underneath the tweet or the message, and people are able to submit information on there. And then, of course, other people are able to sort of upvote it, downvote it, or report it for being complete garbage. And so it's a way for community to moderate themselves. There's some actual really good ones. In fact, one of the headlines we'll talk about a little bit later allegedly is debunked, and so like there's fact checks underneath tweets if you find them of it. So it kind of does its job. So why why is it good to get rid of fact checkers but bring in community notes? There's a statement from Jordan Peterson, and it's in one of his interviews from a number of years ago, probably 2018. But he goes his statement is something along the lines of who determines what truth is, or in his case, it's who determines what hate means in dealing with hate speech. And his quote is, those people you would least want to define it, that's who. And he says, any sensible person would have nothing to do with it, would want nothing to do with it. But anybody who wants to exercise control or force their opinion on others will take up such a position. And that's the problem with fact checkers. That's the problem with hate speech laws. And so in specifically in fact checkers, right? There's a Troy Media article that talks about a bunch of fact checkers that are probably wrong. And then we get into stuff like like who the fact checkers are. So PolitiFact was a big one. Snopes was a big one. I think ABC News. There might be one other one, maybe the Washington Post. So let's just assume like a lot of those are. Well, we won't even assume. We'll just say those are a lot of left leaning. And so, like, who selects those? And the reality is, the committee that selects those probably has biases, political biases, and that's okay. Everyone has political biases. But if you have political biases, then you should try to counterbalance your perspectives, especially if you're working on something as sort of grandiose as fact checking or trying to be unbiased in fact checking. So anyway, there's that. Like the fact checkers that were selected, I don't think that they were the best people to have fact checking. And so here's what I mean by that. Um, we talked about Snopes. If you guys don't know, Snopes was run by David Mikkelson. And David Mikkelson, a co-founder and CEO of Snopes. Somewhere in here you can see his wife was an adult film star, also an escort. In their divorce documents, he was accused of paying for escorts, and allegedly, like those haven't been substantiated outside of the divorce documents, but he married an escort, and between 2011 and 2015, he was accused of embezzling $100,000 that he used to go on vacations with an escort at the time, like prior to when he married her. So that's somebody that was fact checking. I remember seeing, I remember during COVID or around that time, people posting Snopes articles as like oh, look at this, this is the truth, and you don't know what you're talking about. And then it was like, if you trust Snopes, then I don't know what to tell you. And this is just a prime example of that. And so, well, I guess you can look it up yourself. I think the Daily Mail has an article on it. Yeah, fake news accused defrauding website pay prostitute staffs, including escort porn star Vice Vixen Dami. Okay, so I'll post the link down in the description. So that's Snopes, right? And then we get to stuff like Peter Blight. Peter Blight was he Ars Technica? He was a reporter at Ars Technica, which is supposed to be sort of a moderate, mostly unbiased source or whatever. Sure. Um, and if you try and look for articles on Pizzagate, it's really hard to find them. But you can find images on Twitter of his account, of his Twitter account, making fun of Pizzagate and like trying to undermine the whole idea or say, yeah, pedophiles really want to identify themselves as pedophiles or something. Anyway, Peter Blight was charged with soliciting underage children. He was trying to set up sexual encounters with a 7 and 9 year old and was arrested by the FBI. So we'll just leave that there. I'll give the link to Daily Dot that has sort of a coverage of it. I can't figure out how to log into Twitter on my computer because I don't remember passwords. But if people are really interested in the images of that, I can look it down, or you can look up Liz Crokin account and look for Pizzagate, and then Peter Blight, and should pull up the images. So then we move to James Gordon Meek. James Gordon Meek was a reporter with ABC, and he was an investigative reporter. He won some awards and stuff. Apparently, he did debunking of something Syria related, Syria hoax, and claimed it was Russian fueled propaganda. I don't know. I don't care to read the article. In the article, though, it mentions the debunked Pizzagate thing, right? And so, I forgot. I've got my pages up in front of me. So, oh, yeah, here you go. So, Dr. Pizza is going back to Peter Blight, and so you can say, yeah, apparently pizza is now the international sign for pedophilia because pedos like to advertise that they're, I assume that's pedos. Then they came for pedophiles, and I did not speak out because I am not a pedophile, which is ironic. And so there's Peter Blight sort of like throwing shade at it all. And then here's Peter Blight found guilty for soliciting minors for sex online. Apparently he was trying to like meet with the mother of the 7 and 9 year old or whatever, and it wound up being an FBI sting. So just a scumbag. So fast forward, not fast forward. Oh, yeah. Here's a yeah, climate science's opinion, and it probably is all about CO2 stuff. I think if we'll skip it. Uh, so this one should be James Gordon Meek. James Gordon Meek was the one who investigated journalist, ABC, um, and he pleads guilty to it for having child pornography. I'll link to the article, but it should be here. So this is behind Syria hoax and the Russian propaganda onslaught. And so if you go down to number 3, he says this guy Mike Cernovich was one of the leading voices in the debunked Pizzagate conspiracy theory. So kind of throwing shade at it. He might not have had a full article. New York Post apparently there was a meme maybe of a headline that said guy who debunked Pizzagate in trouble for child porn, which is effectively what happened here. And so because like the way the way media shifted over the last 6 or 8 years, if you want to find a real story, you almost look for the fact checkers and what they debunked, and then try and search for the strands underneath that. And so the number, the mere quantity and number of articles that are debunking that James Gordon Meek had anything to do with the Pizzagate investigation or information or talking about it, and all his socials are scrubbed. Leads me to believe that there's a strong likelihood that he was in fact associated with it. So we'll just sort of leave it there. Like obviously he calls it out in this article. Who knows if he had larger articles? I don't know what his socials had, etc. Uh, oh, and the internet right now is alight with talking about Pizzagate because temporally, I don't know how this came to pass, but temporally, the guy who took a rifle into Pizzagate in 2016. He served 4 years, pled guilty, whatever. He was just murdered. No, he wasn't murdered. Sorry, he was shot by police because he wouldn't surrender his firearm. He was on parole or a probation violation, had an active warrant, had a revolver. Apparently, I should have left up the articles on that. But if you try and search for Pizzagate right now, that's all that gets returned is just the shooter or whatever. Um, so it's really interesting that that happens on the heels of the stuff about fact checking going away because of how many people were fact checking and involved in that. And then you can't really talk about Pizzagate without the internet reminding people that that started from WikiLeaks and the John Podesta emails, and so like I guess I should have pulled some of those up. But the moral of the story is like it didn't just start with QAnon coming up with something. It didn't just come out of nowhere. Um, it was founded based on emails, and those emails should still be in archives that people can access to look at how John Podesta is talking about just creepy, weird stuff and cryptic information related to pizzas and hot dogs or whatever. Um, so all that to say, like, hey, those people might not be the ones you want to fact check. And then of course there's Slade Somer. Let's see if we're here. Yeah, John Podesta's friend who debunked Pizzagate, arrested for yeah. So he was editor in chief of the Recount apparently. A friend of John Podesta. Again, we just mentioned John Podesta and the origin of Pizzagate. And like, here's a post. No fact checks. I'm sure we could click on it. X News site editor in chief had hundreds of really bad images. Um, they looked in his Telegram and found it, and then of course he's got like just terrifying details. Like this, yeah, it's crazy and kind of heartbreaking. And then so like point of it all this is like one the meme about Zuckerberg as a way to punch back at him getting rid of fact checkers is funny. Like I don't care who you are, I laughed at it. This is probably the only time I'll defend him. Well, I guess, and them getting rid of the DEI policies because I think that's a great move actually. So this one, but Um, but the reason that that's important is because the people who are fact checking probably aren't the ones you want to fact check. And the thing about it is the people selecting those who would fact check have an agenda, whether or not they want to or not. They have a political bias, right? And somewhere you can look up how much the tech industry skews towards specific sides of the political spectrum. And so, like, taking and selecting or creating a cohort or group, even with the best intentions, is likely to align to sources that confirm your beliefs, right? There will be a confirmation bias or a selection bias that happens in selecting those people. So by default, trying to select fact checkers to do the right thing is prone to have issues. And so it started out with ill intent. I don't know how it started out. I will tell you that if you select people and have sort of a walled garden, then the opportunity for them to drift to an end of the political spectrum is high. And that probably to any spectrum or any topic, once you create sort of an echo chamber. So like these articles are sort of a way to demonstrate, hey, maybe this is part of the reason that it's good that we move away from fact checkers and go to community notes, because anybody can provide feedback into community notes. If it's bad feedback or it gets disproven, then it can be, in a way, fact checked or sanity checked by the community and removed, which is one of the brilliant things that X has done over the years, over the last couple years, right? So all that to say, it's probably not the end of the world. Um, the article on LinkedIn about Meta eliminating DEI programs is interesting because it came out on Friday. It came out to well, today is obviously when I'm recording it, and like um, a lot of people seem to be very upset and are posting their views. I think it's totally great, again, to post what you think. I tried to look at the stock ticker earlier and it didn't look like it did anything. And one of the things about stock ticker Facebook, um, one of the things about posting news on Fridays is it has sort of a limited news cycle. If you don't get something out before like 7 or 8 a.m., probably Pacific time, but in general, then it's very like unlikely to be picked up. So like historically in some of the companies I worked for, like Friday was like, if you don't get it first thing, you're waiting until Monday, you're waiting until next week for the news cycle. So it's interesting that they put this out on Friday. This information leaked out or was shared out on Friday. I don't expect it to make a big hit on their stock price. And then if you look at, I thought I could see that. Oh, I'm on Brave instead of Google. I see. Um, if you look at like the last 6 months, they've actually been doing pretty well. They had a little bit of a trough this week, which could be associated with the fact checking articles. And for today specifically, I think they actually went up just a hair, which like uh, small amounts at $600 a share. If you change like $3 or $4 or $5, that's within sort of normal noise parameters. So like if anything, I expect Facebook to do all right. I don't think people will still be talking about this on Monday, and we'll see how things go. I suspect that this will lead to a number of layoffs. Layoffs create sort of an efficiency in operations cost, and so who knows? It might actually like lead to better profits or better net income for Facebook over the year, which again is something sort of we talked about in episode 1 is the net income, gross profits, and whatever the third, oh, revenue. And so like their operating costs, if they go down, will likely lead to stronger net profits. I don't expect any of their advertising or anything to change. So something to be aware of. Like if anything, I expect them to actually go up over the year. I'm not, you're not paying me for financial advice. I'm not giving official financial advice or stock pick advice. I'm just giving what I think will likely happen. So do with that what you will. Um, and I think that's where I'll leave it, right? A whole bunch to cover and a whole bunch of grody news with a bunch of stupid links that I had to look up um, for the purpose of explaining like why hand-picking fact checkers is a bad idea. Community notes is probably more even keel and probably likely to do a great amount of good. And that's before, well, I think the good read on fact checkers from Troy Media might demonstrate some of the places where they've kind of been debunked. And COVID's a great example of that. The lab leak hypothesis was shut down early on, and like you couldn't post about it, and like your post would be removed. Like yeah, nobody would be able to see them. Um, and like here we are, December 4th of last fall, well, like a month ago, basically, the Senate Select Committee on the Coronavirus Pandemic came out with a report, and it's like a 200-page report. One of the highlights is, or one of the top notes is, COVID was likely generated in a lab. It's not likely that it was just a evolutionary change that led to that strand of coronavirus, and then and then you get into all kinds of other issues. But that was one of the things that was taken down early, and so like here we are 5 years later, looking at it like, oh well, I guess 4 years, I don't know, 5 years later, looking at it and like, oh hey, maybe there was something to that. Maybe we should have listened, paid attention, or let those voices be espoused, and so they could be debunked, proven wrong, or argued with data and facts and medical VAERS report, or the actual Pfizer inserts for their vaccine, or their initial study that they sent to the CDC, all the pages that they wanted hidden for 75 years. Like all this information should have been out there for people to consume, and a lot of times it was posted and then taken down within a couple hours. So like, um, I think this is a good move from Meta. I don't know if I expect other platforms to follow suit. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. I think there will be strong pressure probably on YouTube and stuff to remove some of its moderation and sort of open up the platform to be more open to all political conversations, as well as all topics, right? Everything should be fair play and free speech. Um, and so that's what we'll leave it. We covered a whole bunch of stuff, have a whole bunch of links. I'll put it all both on YouTube and Facebook. And again, I'm still trying to figure out how to make these videos most visible. So right now I'm uploading to YouTube first and then posting to Facebook. I might wind up trying to stream on Facebook and then post to YouTube. I don't think YouTube will get a lot of circulation, but Facebook and how that algorithm's set up can kind of adjust who sees or where your impressions land. So still learning. Um, anyway, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. That's Ready, Set, Engage, episode 2.